Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 140 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you today after an extended break live from YouTube, and I need to get straight back into usual routines, which means going down here to the tablet to make sure that things are coming through loud and clear. It looks as it's all right, and so many comments already. Hang on. Angela, you get the first comment, appropriately enough. Hi, Persolaise and everyone, you say. Yura says, hi, Angela. Oh, you're talking to each other. Aimson Moon says hello. Little conversation going on there. And Keith says good morning from Canada. It's great to have you back, though you weren't gone for that long. And Joanna says hello. It feels like it was a long time because I do lots and lots of things in November that take up a lot of headspace. So to me, it feels as though I haven't been doing this with you for ages, even though when I was doing the date on the clapperboard, I realised that it definitely hasn't been a full month. It may not even have been a full 3 weeks. So I hope you've all been well. This is obviously for the benefit of those of you watching live. For those of you watching the recording, you will have no idea what I'm talking about, but I hope you're well as well if you're watching the recording. Fahmi says hello, hi, huge hello to all of you. Keep the comments coming. Need to get the usual stuff out of the way. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so. Please feel free to leave a comment, ask a question. If you're watching the recording, I usually get round to all of them in time. Hello to Q George. Good afternoon from Hungary, says Elvanui. Finally catching you live. Vitali says good afternoon from Stockholm. Huge hello to all of you. So what's the plan for today? I think the first plan is that Persolaise is going to try and fix this annoying bit of lockdown hair. Oh, that just made it worse. Maybe we should just leave it alone and not play with the hair. Right, don't mess with the hair, Persolaise, because it's just going to make it worse. Lesson learned. Rough plan for today is that we're going to do, I think, probably three videos. We will start with this, a brand new release from Penhaligons that I think officially doesn't even come out until 2021, January 2021, and I haven't smelt it. Then we will let YouTube take its usual 5-minute break, and we will come back with let's say 2 collections. So a video on one collection from a very well-known high-end designer brand, and then a video on a lesser-known collection, a collection that to me was completely unknown until recently, but which I am really excited about. It's actually been ages since I was last so excited about a brand. But anyway, we shouldn't talk about subsequent videos now, but what I'm saying is stay tuned for the last video because it will be a good one. But I think without further ado, we need to smell this latest addition to the Penhaligons portrait range. I'm not ignoring your comments, by the way. Keep them coming. Ashfaq says, my liege, you have been missed. That's very sweet. Agnes says, nice hair. That's very kind. There is a lot of it at the moment, I think you will agree. Maybe a little bit too much, but never mind. Madame Persolaise likes it, and of course she is the one whose opinion on this needs to be obeyed at all times. The Penhaligons portraits collection is the one that a lot of us affectionately refer to. Hang on, let's stop the crunchy. A lot of us affectionately refer to as the Cluedo collection, or is it just me? Because I don't even know what this one's going to look like in terms of the character at the top. Oh, goodness me. I just find these faintly ridiculous. No, not even faintly ridiculous. I find them quite ridiculous. Oh, hang on. This one's a bit stuck. What's happened with this packaging here? Got a little bit... Gosh, okay. So we've got, which zodiac sign are you? I still... Just even though I'm not a bottle person at all, and I'm really not bothered about bottles most of the time, I do find these a bit bothersome because... I think what they're trying to be is quirky, and I'm really not sure it works for me. But putting the bottle aside, let's take a closer look at it. So this is the Inimitable William Penhaligon. So it's the first one that's actually named after their founder, of course. Few more comments. Path says, great to see you after such a long break. The kiss curl is definitely here to stay today. It's more than a curl though, isn't it? And Isaac says, hello from Hong Kong. Happy to catch the live show. Loving the bottle design of the whole portrait collection. Okay, great. That's cool. So I'm sure it must be working for somebody because this range, as we've said before on these videos, has been extremely successful. I still prefer the main Penhaligons range. Although Roaring Radcliffe from the portraits is one that I'm quite fond of. And there's something about most of them that I just find a little bit too ordinary, a little bit too straightforward. We have a press release for this one. I don't know if you can make out that. Actually, there seems to be quite good color reproduction there. It's a dark green, sort of grey green, which does suggest a certain material. So let's go to start us off. The Inimitable William Penhaligon from the Penhaligons portrait range. And as you could see from the fact that I unsealed it, I have not smelt this before, so this is a genuine, is it going to be a real love at first scent or not? Okay, well, have you missed the pauses? Yura says, here we go. See, maybe this is the thing about the portraits, because we mustn't jump to conclusions, and this is a good moment to say that we don't jump to conclusions in this series, even though the series is called Love at First Scent, and it is all about my initial reactions to perfumes. I always do a blotter update for new releases, and what that means, for those of you who don't know, is that about 12 hours after the initial broadcast, I go back to the video description below and I write a few lines to say how the scent has developed on the blotter, because we must not judge a scent entirely on first impressions. First impressions are important, but they're not everything by any means. I may also wear the perfume on skin. And what I was going to say is that a lot of the time, with the Penhaligon's portraits, it feels as though you figured them out literally within about the first 30 seconds of smelling them, and you're never proved wrong. You're never surprised in any way. So you kind of think, oh yes, this is going to be such and such, and sure enough, after half an hour it's still doing the same thing, and after a couple of hours it's still doing the same thing, and you just think, oh well, that was it then. I worked out what the scent was and where it was going and what it was going to do within about 30 seconds of smelling it, and it didn't have any surprises in store for me. It didn't take any interesting twists and turns. And what I am getting here, although like I said, I may be wrong, but because we're right in the basey material, you kind of think the chances are not going to be that I'm wrong. I get quite a strong synthetic sandalwood and a very, very marked vetiver base, which would sort of tie in with the green of the juice, and if you're doing a vetiver perfume, the obligatory fresh top, so some kind of citrusy top, maybe not overly grapefruity to give the perfume its due, because vetiver is usually paired with grapefruit, and maybe a bit more floral in a light, dewy kind of way, but it's already doing that vetiver thing, which you will love if you love vetiver, and which you will find dubious and questionable if you're a little bit like me, where vetiver, if it hasn't been tempered, it just turns to me into something in the region of unpleasant BO and boiled onions. I always think of swampiness and over-boiled onions when I think of straight up and down vetiver perfumes. So I expect it'll do very well, because vetiver is usually a good sell, this kind of thing. It'll probably hit the right sorts of buttons for certain sorts of people who want a scent that is more masculine inclined, which I guess ties in with the attractive figure on top of the cap. Let's look at some comments, and then we'll do the press release to see whether the press release actually tells us that this is meant to be an, I don't know, a light, fresh citrus scent. Lots of comments coming through. Isma says, hello from Oregon, thrilled to catch this live. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'm guessing a mossy base, says Yura. Angela says, so very linear. I suppose that's what I mean. And there's nothing wrong with linear scents. I mean, it actually takes quite a lot of skill to put together a linear scent. But even a linear scent can present maybe something that you haven't smelt before. I think there's something just a little bit uninspired to my nose about most of the portraits. Finally, a new life says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Is it Uske? It was about time, and I love when the topic is vetiver." Latifa World says, "Good evening. What is the best niche perfume house when it comes to packaging? Discuss that amongst yourselves. We're not going to go off topic today." A warm hi from Canada says, Mary Ann Tomasz says, "Hello from Katowice in Poland. The first impression counts. I've fallen in love with the newest release from Javoy, that is 21 Conduit Street. It's really good and solid." I didn't realise they'd done a new one. Ashfaq says, "Just a suggestion, perhaps from now on, if you could add your take post-skin application to that way people get everything together." I could, but then you start getting into problems if I do lots of videos in one day. Of course, we could always clone me. Nick 1447 says, "Tried most of the portrait collections recently and I agree with your assessment. Simple things can be great, but I found the range to be slightly underwhelming and monotonous." And Peggy says, "Got here in time for the boiled onion comment. Love the shirt today." Thank you very much. You missed the Peggy board. Let's see what the press release has to say before we finish this. So I have a feeling this may be a bit of a long one, so we'll skip through to the most important parts. When Mr. Penhaligon first made cologne for royals and nobility, he had set up in Mayfair, the centre of old world civility. Our dear Queen Victoria and the Shah of Persia soon wore his scent, and the request for a royal warrant had swift regal consent. This was 1870, and the world was discovering what would one day be his legacy. The above is all true. Okay, right. So we're going to be game playing, aren't we? Once upon a time, Lady Blanche sought revenge. I really don't know if I want to know the character stories. Lord George was rather worried. Would clandestine Clara cause his entire life to upend? Duchess Rose sought adventure of the torrid kind. Terrible Teddy was open to suggestions, but his assent generally preempted someone else's decline. William Penhaligon, the famous perfumer, was a weekend houseguest in the country manor of Lord and Lady George. Like every great artist, he felt the need to create a portrait of each one. So it goes on. I think I'm going to spare you this and get onto the... Okay, his fragrance. A perfume for gentlemen. Majestic and chic, like a good friend, stimulating and comforting in equal measure, like great art and music, uplifting, composed in expert, meticulous detail, but with strong, confident brushstrokes. William Penhaligon's own scent, beyond distinguished, a timeless classic since 2020. Created with vetiver, one of perfumery's master ingredients, earthy, warm and fresh, woven inside an oriental structure, one of perfumery's mistresses of sophistication. Oh dear. Okay, well, I know that one. And it says it's a woody oriental with bergamot and jasmine, vetiver, incense and cedarwood, and sandalwood and ambrox. To which I would say yes. And little else besides, I think. So at least the perfume, the press release is succinct. I will give it that. Let me just see if any more comments came through, and then we will let you go. Come on, tablet, don't let me down now. Here we go. Angela says, possibly maybe it's why the bottles are so fussy, to detract from an uninspiring juice. Very possible. And the Udo Pantograph, interesting name, says, good morning from Austin, Texas. Hello. Glad to catch my first Persolaise live. And somebody's asking somebody whether they're in Ireland, which I think is probably a good moment to stop. So, yes, what to say? I think what to say is, certainly at least as far as this first impression is concerned, if you are after a vetiver perfume, there are going to be better ones out there, and these aren't cheap either, so you just can't help but feel underwhelmed by these. So, on that note, I will say that thank you for watching this episode, if that's the only one that you've been watching. But if you are planning to stay tuned for the rest of the lives. I will be back in a couple of minutes. We just need to let YouTube do its thing for a couple of minutes to upload, but I will see you soon. Bye.